Welcome. In the last lecture, we created our first project for us to work with, and we used the third-person template to create it. Before we dive into material side of things, I'd like to discuss one common question that a lot of students have, and that is, why don't I understand material? To find out the root cause for that problem, let's take a look at what a node is. There are two pictures that I'd like to show you guys. The one on the left, this is some simple nodes inside of a material graph. As you can see, just some simple connections, nothing too fancy. And the one on the right, this is a small piece of code that I wrote, and it does the exact same thing as the one on the left. One of the good things of a node-based system provides is we don't actually have to write off the codes on the right. We can simply just use nodes, and we can write the code by doing this. And that is the good thing of a node-based system. It saves us all of the trouble to learn another language, to learn how to write code. So at this point, I'm sure you know that a node contains code. By dragging out node by connecting pins, you are writing codes. And because of that, because of the code inside of each node, it takes practice to recode. As the graph gets more and more complicated, it takes more and more practice for you to understand it. So practicing more would be the first thing that we need to do. But is that enough? Actually, that's not. I think there are big three main reasons for people not understanding code, not understanding material graph. And the first one, and usually that's the most common one, is a messy graph. I think that's the biggest downside of using a node-based system, is you can easily have a messy graph like this, and it's almost impossible for people to read unless you organize it. And you'll see this happen a lot in Blueprint if you've used Blueprint before. It is a node-based system, and by operating inside of Blueprint, you are also writing codes, and you'll often see this kind of messy graph a lot. And this is something we'll definitely avoid in this course. I'll teach you several techniques for us to keep our graph organized. Alright, so messy graph would be the first big main reason. And the second one, you know that now a node contains code. There will be always nodes that you don't know. The nodes might contain code that you haven't seen before. And to solve this issue, there's one place that you can always go to, and that is the official documentation of Unreal Engine. You'll be surprised at how thorough the documentation is and how well it explains things. Generally speaking, if there are nodes that you haven't seen before, the fastest way for you to understand it is to see an example. And oftentimes, these examples can be found in the documentation of Unreal Engine. And the third main reason for not understanding, I think, is the complicated math. I think that's another downside of using a node-based system is it'll make math even more complicated. And the solution for this, the solution that I always use is I restore the math to the way it should be. Either I write it down using a pen or I type it out in the computer. By restoring the numbers stored in the node-based system into text, this is usually a big help for understanding the math behind it, and we will be doing our own math calculation in the course, and you'll see exactly how this process can be done. In this lecture, we discussed what is a node, and we talked about what is stored inside of a node, and we know that now a node contains code and it takes practice to recode. We are going to do a lot of that practice in this course. And we also discussed the three main reasons for not understanding the material graph. And there are a messy graph, nodes that you haven't seen before, and the complicated math. And we have solutions for each of these issues. And we'll be using those solutions a lot in this course. This is a great beginning. I'll see you in the next lecture.